What's going on YouTube? So the CR-V has always been one of the most popular crossovers on American roads.
And that's why it's important to check it out each and every model year to see exactly what you're getting.
So what's new for 2025? And is this CR-V still a great pick against all the rivals? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's get things started here under the hood. Now, there is something I want to talk about right from the start here, and that's the fact that for 2025, Honda is adding a new powertrain to the lineup. It's known as FCEV, or a plug-in hybrid hydrogen version of the CR-V. Now, this is going to be a pretty limited thing. It's only going to be available for leases in California, but it is an interesting thing that gets 29 miles of EV range and a total range of 270 miles. Has a totally different look as well. Now, for the rest of the lineup, which all the rest of you guys are going to buy, you continue to have a split between your traditional gas and your hybrid trim levels. This is the hybrid, which is using Honda's two-motor hybrid system with 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque.
Fuel economy on this model comes in at 37 miles per gallon combined, and of course we're going to be taking this out for a spin and discussing all the different details that you may want to know. We're also going to be getting our signature sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. Additionally, at the very end of the video, we'll also be integrating two new elements we're adding to our reviews: predicted resale value and reliability, so you'll want to stay tuned for that.
But first, let's go ahead and close up the hood so that we can take a look at the exterior and the interior. All right, so let's talk about the exterior design first of all. So up here in the front, we continue to have that signature Honda look. Nothing is really changing this year. You continue to have that split between your traditional gas trim levels and your hybrid trim levels, which we'll put on the screen down below. That is going to, of course, impact your design, as well as the fact that we have the Sport model. So having a Sport trim level, the Sport, Sport L, or Sport Touring, is going to get you this more aggressive fascia. It's all finished in the nice gloss black, as well as down here on your lower fascia as well. Again, that hydrogen fuel cell model will have a different look as well. And then as we continue into the headlights, this is one area that is the same across the lineup. We have the full LED arrangement. These are going to be reflector LEDs. We have a daytime running light and turn signal indicator across the top, all LED as well, but no fog lamps. Now moving around back, of course, you continue with that classic CR-V design.
Yeah, it looks really good. And as far as some of those design elements, let's go ahead and break down the individual features. We have a wiper right here, and then as far as our taillights, we have that signature CR-V design. So it's going to be actually a quite large taillight cluster, and Drew is showing you that we have an LED reverse light, or LED brake light, reverse light, and an incandescent turn signal. So we have 2 out of 3 elements as LED. I'm pretty happy to see that. That's really better than most in the segment for this CR-V. And as we drop down to the lower fascia, since we have the Sport trim level, that's where we're going to get these really nice looking trapezoidal exhaust outlets. Additionally, some of the other trim levels will have different finishes down here, such as the Sport Touring. As far as the tow rating is concerned, it's 1,500 pounds for the gas versions of the CR-V or 1,000 pounds for the hybrid versions.
Moving on to our wheel options, they will range from 17-inch Steelies with hubcaps up to 19-inch alloy wheels. On the Sport L, we have the 18-inch gloss black alloy wheel, which looks quite nice. We also are going to have a matte black plastic that surrounds the wheel arches as well as the lower parts of the body. And then in terms of our mirrors, you have the gloss black finish if you choose one of these Sport models, and with the features, you're going to be looking at heating and blind spot monitoring as standard on all but the base LX.
Now here at the side of the CR-V, you have that same overall shape, and as far as the vehicle length, it's 184.8 inches long, which does actually place this as one of the largest offerings in the segment. Now as far as design, I do want to point out for the Sport trim levels, we do have these nice blacked out roof rails up top that add to the overall design of the vehicle. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, I'm happy to tell you that Honda is including the entire board as standard equipment. So that's going to include things even such as adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist. But guys, let's go ahead and hop into the inside and see if there's anything new for 2025. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's move on to the interior. Here's a look at the key fob. This is Honda's latest design. We do have a smart entry system with remote start built in for all but the base LX trim level. That means on the Sport L, I can just reach behind the door handle. That will unlock the door for me. And let's take a look inside at the interior. So you won't notice any significant changes to the overall design. And let's talk about the seats first of all. So of course, many of your trim levels on the lower end are going to come with cloth seating. If you choose one of the models, up on the upper end, you're going to get leather. So the Sport L, the L does stand for leather, so you'll see that right here. As you can see, a nice look to this leather. I particularly like the color contrast stitching that Honda has used. As you can see, we have the black finish, but you can also get a gray seat if you prefer that. And in terms of our controls here, these are going to be 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. Also, if you have leather seats, that's when you'll find memory seats as well. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that we're inside, let's go through the rest of our cabin materials. Starting with the door trim, we have a leatherette material through here, the same stitching details from the seats through this part, and the top part of the door trim, it is going to be a soft touch material, and we have a textured black trim that you'll see on the door trim as well as repeated in other places in the cabin, especially down here underneath of our single vent effect. Now the top part of the dashboard is also going to be soft touch. We have a small piano black accent that circles around this center console here, but it is not going to be padded along the sides on any of the trim levels. Now we'll go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. That does illuminate when you put your foot on the brake. Now that it's fired up, of course, this is the hybrid model, so you won't hear an engine fire up or anything like that, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the individual features. We'll begin with our gauge cluster. Every CRV continues to have a partially digital gauge cluster, so that means this over here on the left-hand side is a 7-inch display. This side is going to be an analog gauge cluster. You can customize a few different pieces of information inside of this display to what you want. And by the way, a head-up display is not available. Now, in terms of our steering wheel, typical Honda design, if you have leather seats, you'll have a leather-wrapped steering wheel as well. And we have manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is reserved for the Sport Touring trim level. Now, one thing that is not reserved for any specific trim level is an enormous amount of space. So let's take a look at the 9-liter center console. So this is an absolutely massive space, and you will be surprised by how many donuts are inside of here, because this is actually a whole nother layer down there. This fits 20 donuts. It almost fits the full 2 dozen, which is Car Confections' maximum amount on the signature donut test. Very impressive. Now in front of that, we have our 2 cup holders. You have another large storage area up here in the front. This does have a wireless phone charging pad as well with EXL trim level and above. Now in terms of the shifter, it's very traditional. Just pull back for drive. Go up to R for reverse. And when you go into reverse, you'll see a standard backup camera up here. This is going to be the same backup camera that's on every single trim level of the CRV, because there's not a 360 offering, even on the top-end Sport Touring, but you can switch between your 3 different views there. EXL and above will come with front and rear parking sensors additionally. Now you have your electronic parking brake and your brake hold. You also have your various drive mode controls right there. Rising above, we have Honda's signature climate controls. This is a dual zone automatic setup with the nice clicky buttons on all the trim levels. It's a good physical control, so it's not complicated. We also have 3-stage heated seats. Those will be included on all but the base LX trim level. Now you also have physical controls for your audio systems as well. So there's going to be several different selections where you kind of continuously add speakers as you move through the trim structure. This Sport L has the second highest option. It's going to be an 8-speaker sound system, and we'll go ahead and give that a sample right now. overall sound quality is pretty good with this system. It actually has plenty of bass as well, but if you want the best audio experience you can get on the CR-V, then I'd certainly recommend going for the Sport Touring. That's going to give you the Bose sound system with 12 speakers. Now, let's talk a little bit about in-car technology. So, with the CR-V, you have two different screens and two different infotainment systems that you can go with. If you get the EXL trim level or above, that's going to get you this 9-inch display. This is running the newer version of Honda Link, but not the newest version you might have seen on the Honda Accord, which has Google Apps built in. That's not currently available on the 2025 CR-V. Now, as far as features worth pointing out, built-in navigation comes on the Sport Touring trim level. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both included on the 9-inch display. Now, if you get the smaller 7-inch display, that's going to give you less features, basically, but you have to connect wired Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Now, up top here, we have an auto-dimming mirror. Be aware that HomeLink remotes are in a separate app that you can add to your infotainment system. And then let's go ahead and slide back our sunroof. So the important thing to note about the sunroof is this is included on all but the base model. But on the flip side, you cannot get a panoramic sunroof even on the fully loaded model.
Now, the rear seat areas in the CR-V may be more important than what you even get in the front, because this is the choice of many American families. So this rear seat area, incredibly important, and Honda absolutely knocks it out of the park. So when it comes to space, we are sitting at an enormous figure for this segment. About 41 inches of legroom, about 38.2 inches of headroom. So those are very, very big figures for this segment. Like I mentioned, this really is the largest choice that you can get. Now, I'm 5'9" for reference. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". And, one of the things we do here at Car Confections is provide you with that real-world knee measure that you can maybe expect. And we're sitting at a very impressive 9 inches of knee room. My feet can also slide up underneath the seat, but we're not done yet when it comes to comfort, because the CR-V offers a very nice feature. It has 8 different stages of reclining rear seats. So as you can see, I can go all the way back and really just fully stretch out. This is very comfortable, probably the most comfortable thing in the segment. There's 8 different modes that I can put it in. So that's a lot more customizability than other vehicles. Now, as far as features, we do have vents here in the center. We also have 2 USB ports for our higher end models. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that Honda is not including heated rear seats as an option on any version of the CR-V in this new generation. Now, in terms of the door trim, let's go ahead and look at this. You have hard touch material on the upper part, so that's different from the front, so do be aware of that. However, we do have a leatherette armrest portion. Down below, we have quite a lot of bottle storage. As you can see, it fits a full Stanley water bottle in that door cubby, so that's definitely very nice. Speaking of the door, I also want to point out that the door opens probably at a solid 85 degrees, so that's definitely going to help if you're loading in car seats or whatnot. Now, walking up to the tailgate, you will find a Power One here for this Sport L, as well as a couple other trim levels. However, do be aware you have to get the Sport Touring trim level if you want the hands-free ability. Now, as far as this space is concerned, once again, Honda really nails it when it comes to the space for this all-new model. So we're going to have about 39 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. If we fold those seats down, we're going to have a maximum of 76.5 cubic feet of cargo capacity. That, once again, makes this like the largest option in the entire segment. It is so large for this class, and it's worth noting it's quite a bit larger than Rogue and RAV4, which are probably this vehicle's main competitors. Now, as far as features, let's talk about that. As you can see, the seats do fold 60-40 split. I can just easily reach up and fold them down, although it is going to be a little bit difficult to do that if you're a shorter person, especially, doing it from the cargo area. However, you can just go up and do it from the second row itself. So now that I've got those seats folded down, as you can see, they do fold pretty much flat to the floor. And one of the other things we do in all of our Car Confections reviews is get the cargo measurements in case you're looking to haul something specific. And we have about 75 inches of overall cargo length. Behind the seat, adjusted to someone who is 5'8". Behind the second row, we're looking at 36 inches of length. Let's look at our cargo width. Very impressive, about 43 inches wide. As far as cargo height, 31 inches. So if you're getting the hint that this is a very practical vehicle, that is indeed the case. Now, I do want to point out that this cargo floor does not lift up. So there is no spare tire on the CRV, so be aware of that. And there's also not any underfloor storage. So you're going to have to do everything in what you saw right there. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Honda CR-V. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
So I was taking it up to just about 60 miles per hour, going up a hill. And overall power on this is, pretty impressive. We've said that in the past reviews of the CR-V hybrid, and definitely continue to see plenty of power on board when you choose this hybrid powertrain. So, long gone are the days where choosing a hybrid meant you had a big sacrifice in power. Actually, you get more power by choosing the hybrid trim levels. That's why Honda actually puts that powertrain in the hybrid, or in the sport trim levels, That's why the hybrid is in the sport trim levels, because those are the more powerful offerings. You have 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque from a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine paired with 2 electric motors for the overall output of the hybrid system. Now that's up from 190 horsepower that you get in the 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine on your gas-powered trim levels.
Yeah, so those three trim levels, are LX, EX, and EXL. So any of them that start with Sport have the hybrid. Any of them that are what I just mentioned will have the gas setup. Now, of course, new for 2025, like Drew said, at the spec dump, there is the fuel cell hydrogen vehicle that's a plug-in hybrid as well. That is a very, limited production, so I'm not going to harp too much on it, but it's making about 174 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. Overall range is going to be about 270 miles, and there's 29 miles of EV-only range. So if you're one of the people that live in California, and you're looking to lease a CR-V, that is definitely going to be an option for you this year.
Yeah, they're only going to be making about 2,000 of them per year. We haven't driven it, of course. I don't know if Honda will give us the opportunity to be behind the wheel. Like I said, it's a very limited production model, almost experimental, you could say, in a way, because there's not very many hydrogen fuel cell vehicles at all available in the U.S. Let's talk a little bit about the transmission situation. So, when you get the traditional gas-powered models, you're going to get a CVT. When you choose a hybrid model, you're going to get what is, in effect, a eCVT. It doesn't operate exactly the same way as Toyota's eCVT, but I'm not going to get too technical into that. The overall operation does feel CVT-like, but you'll notice that it does have shift simulation. So that's one of the things that Honda does to kind of give you still a more traditional feel when you accelerate. And overall, it is super responsive.
Yeah. Now, as far as how the power is routed to the ground, you do have the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and that goes for all the trim levels besides for the Sport Touring, which is all-wheel drive exclusive. Now, it is worth noting that if you want the best fuel economy, that will be found in a front-wheel drive hybrid version. So today we have the all-wheel drive version in the Sport L, but you can get up to 40 miles per gallon combined if you choose the hybrid front-wheel drive. So that's very, very impressive. It is still going to be a little bit less than something like a RAV4, especially if you choose the all-wheel drive system, which comes in at 37 miles per gallon combined. If you choose the standard 1.5-liter turbocharged engine, we're sitting at 29 and 30 miles a gallon, respectively. So a pretty big boost in fuel economy in addition to the boost in power if you choose the hybrid system. So that's certainly the route that I would go personally.
Yeah, and just that instantaneous torque feel as well, I think, is a big benefit of the hybrid. This feels a lot spunkier than that traditional gas. We have driven both. We spent plenty of time in both. And just getting you off the line there with that electric torque and supplementing the power throughout the power band really makes a big difference overall. Another thing I've always liked about Hondas is just the nice steering setup. Now, obviously, this CR-V is not designed to be a super sporty vehicle, but Honda always bakes in a certain amount of athleticism. The steering system, for example, is nicely weighted, very responsive as you turn off center. And overall, this is a pretty balanced vehicle, so it feels kind of like a little bit bigger Civic, for example, versus something like a larger family SUV that a lot of people are considering these days.
All right, but we're just cruising down the highway here, and I want to take a second here to discuss ride quality. Now, this is a family vehicle through and through. Even though you do have some of the sporty characteristics, it's certainly going to be comfort-focused. Here in the Sport L, that is no different. You have very comfortable seats. The overall suspension does a good job of soaking out bumps. I think it's a very class-competitive ride quality. It's one of the softer choices, especially if you choose something like this Sport L as 18-inch alloy wheels as compared to the 19s on the Sport Touring, so that certainly does help your ride quality a little bit. All right, and we are speeding up to 55 miles per hour, so I can do our sound level reading. We already have fan speed on 1. 59.4 decibels is what we're sitting at as our official Car Confections sound level reading in the CR-V. We don't have to sit here and guess how that compares to the competition, though, because we can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. We post all of the vehicles that we test in this channel, which is a lot of different cars, and we can see how this vehicle is going to compare. And as far as how that compares, that certainly is going to place the CR-V as one of the loudest options in the segment when it comes to your sound level reading. We see that on actually quite a lot of Honda products. They're typically louder for the segment. There's a little bit less sound insulation going on, so I'm not surprised by that figure. So do keep that in mind if you're cross-shopping. Things in the segment that will be the quietest would be something like a Volkswagen Tiguan, a Mazda CX-50. Those types of vehicles are going to come in quite a bit quieter than the CR-V. And now let's go ahead and get into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
The Slam Dunk has got to be space. That just continues to be really the strongest area about this CR-V. It's always been huge. The new generation, since that came out, is huge. As a fun fact, it has 76 cubic feet of maximum cargo capacity. That is actually about the same as the Mazda CX-90, a 3-row SUV.
Yep.
So just to put that in reference, how freaking large this thing is, there you go.
It's big. Yeah, it's very big. On the airball side of things, what we're going to say, and probably what we've said for the past 3 or 4 reviews of the CR-V, is we're missing out on those luxury goodies that people demand in this segment. It just doesn't make a lot of sense why Honda doesn't have vented seats on this model. It doesn't make a lot of sense why there's no 360 camera or a pano roof, heated rear seats. I could go on and on. There are quite a lot of features on the CR-V that are missing that is pretty much on all of the competition, so I think Honda's losing out on a lot of customers because of that. So certainly would love for them to maybe make an elite version of this CR-V and just add those extra bougie touches. And last things to point out, we do have Honda's signature warranty, 3-year 36 basic, 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain. You do also get 2 years of complimentary maintenance. And now let's go ahead and talk pricing for the CR-V. Now, for this year, your prices are going to rise a little bit. So that does mean that we're starting at $30,100. So no longer do you have any CR-V that's under $30,000. Be aware of that. As you move up the trim structure, of course, that price inflates. You end at the Sport Touring all-wheel drive, $40,800. This model, as you can see today, is the 25 CR-V all-wheel drive Sport L plus 1350 destination. We are sitting at $40,200 as tested today. And if you're looking to buy a Honda CR-V or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, links provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. Now it's time for us to talk about potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. Now, first up, we'll talk about resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this CRV's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, the CRV will be worth 64.8% of its original price and 34.3% after 10 years and 120,000 miles. Now, it's worth noting that is the best resale value by percentage for the 5-year mark. So that is incredibly good, and of course means that you're going to retain a lot of the value that you're putting into this Honda CRV.
Now, we've also done the same for predicted reliability by coming up with the Combined Reliability Index. That takes into account several studies on reliability and combines them in a way that is more useful for you guys. In this study, Honda ranks as the 3rd best brand in overall reliability, which is, of course, above average.
Now, if you'd like to check out all of our data about reliability and resale values, as well as learn about our methodology, be sure to head to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car certainly is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth review of the 2025 Honda CR-V Sport L. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to become a part of our Car Confections family, you're also going to get a lot more access to car reviews that I'm sure you won't want to miss out on. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and do yourself a favor. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.